And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to week 2 of some college Call of Duty, where tonight we are going to be getting ready to jump in towards the Southeast Division. We've got some exciting things. My name Visions, of course, joining with me is Proper. We're back in the booth here, Proper, for some more Call of Duty action.
Back in here in the digital booth for some more Modern Warfare, especially coming off of that very hype weekend from the CDL. It was a very exciting times, and I'm interested to see if there's any adaptations or anything learned from that weekend from our collegiate teams going into week 2 here.
That's right. We would hope that some of these teams would be able to kind of figure out what some of those mistakes were going in towards that first week there. We were able to kind of identify a few of those issues there on some of those maps. We'll have to see if that is exactly the case. Our first match, of course, of the day coming through for us is going to be Concord Gray up against Mississippi State, as both of these teams currently trying to get themselves up in towards the rankings, as we're going to see some of these rosters here. Concord Gray, of course, have Pinecone Johnson up in towards the first one. We got Cody Vibes, Trash Panda, Lactose, and Hot Clues here for Concord Gray.
Yeah, and we can go ahead and pull up their opponents here, take a look at their roster. Concord Gray, sitting in the Southeast Division, by the way, are sitting at 11th overall. Mississippi State, MSU Esports, as they're labeled here, are sitting at 7th. And when you take a look at their roster, some other players might come to mind that you might have seen pop up here and there if you were able to catch our 2020 Modern Warfare kickoff tournament, especially from Mississippi State. You'll see Grim is just one of those players that always seems to find the advantage, always seems to find the sight lines available, is that thorn in the side of the player that you expect to come out across multiple teams. And Concord Gray going up against Mississippi State, although just a few places behind them, and although this is only week number 2, they're already sitting with 1 loss and 1 win, and with Mississippi State at the second win, you don't want to be falling too far behind too early on.
That's right. And now we're going to get to take a look at some of our maps coming through here for us. And game number 1 here. Gunrunner, of course, Hardpoint, Arkalov Peak, Search and Destroy, Hackney Yard, Domination. And then if we have to go to that game 4 and 5, Hackney Yard, Hardpoint, Gunrunner, Search and Destroy. But this first one, Gunrunner, we got to talk a lot about this Proper last week, about playing with the submachine gun players and using them to play in towards those short quarter type of areas, like Boiler, like the Washrooms Green. These were really, kind of the main points that we were bringing up. And every time the submachine guns were dominating those areas, we saw how those were the teams that were just taking over the map and running away with the lead.
You're so not wrong. I mean, across every single game variant that you get on Gunrunner itself, it's always the epicenter in that map alone, the Boiler, showers, all the way from Boiler inside the Green Warehouse building, depending on what you decide to call it. It's just such a definitive location to be locked down continuously, even when you're rotating out to P2 and P5, P5 being inside the warehouse and P2 being in the gun munitions. Covering that entire rotation, you see all the way down to the waterways. I'm going to be very interested to see the 1 AR player probably out of the 4 SMG players, as we know this meta truly to belong to Gunrunner, not exclusively. Right. Which one they're going to be playing out to control that longer sightlines. We are getting confirmation that all players are inside the lobby. We're going to be hopping inside a Hardpoint Gunrunner momentarily.
That's right. I can't wait for this match here, because as these weeks go on, we expect these teams to get better and better, to have cleaner setups. And we got to see some close matches, going in towards some of those games there last week, but a lot of them happened to be 3-0 for the most part there. I think we got maybe a couple of 3-1. So I'm excited to see what Concord Gray up against Mississippi State is going to bring us here, because like you already mentioned, 11th for Concord Gray, 7th for Mississippi State. So both of these teams already having themselves at least a couple wins on the board. Mississippi State having 2, currently 2-1, already playing 3 matches. And Concord Gray 1-1 here. Haven't played that third match here, of course, about to. So definitely already having some games under their belt. And like we talked about at the very start here, just being able to come in towards week 2, looking refreshed, looking to fix those errors that you were making, so that you can come out strong here in the very first match.
And it's really funny to even bring up too. We always end up bringing up this note alone every time we get Concord Gray on this stream. This isn't the first time that we've had them on this stream for Modern Warfare and different tournaments, yes, but we always bring up about their sister team, Concord Maroon, a very strong team that we know are just bulldozing through every single game, such as what we saw in week 1 last week on Wednesday. They have that authority figure in a way that they can learn from. They can always end up taking some different coaching and different lessons, whether that be one-on-one or the coaching staff from Concord Maroon on into Concord Gray, and probably up their level a little bit. So I think it's all there for Concord Gray. It's just going to have to come down to the execution. All of the different resources must be available, especially with that sister team right there.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teams, that have all the pieces of the puzzle. It's just really about putting that together. And I think playing towards strengths more than anything, because I think that's a real key thing that I got to talk to with at least some of the Humber guys there, for as far as they are also being able to have a very strong start. And they said it's a lot about playing towards the strengths, being able to actually have those strong ARs, playing around that. You can play a different meta than maybe what most people are playing, as long as you're able to, like you said, execute on it and find yourself the wins. That's really all that matters. We can see different styles. We got to see that Minnesota, different styles that were coming out. Some worked, some did not. So having the opportunity to look over at Minnesota, seeing what the pros were running, seeing how they were breaking certain hills and holding certain hills is something that they might be able to kind of bring in towards their own setups and their own gameplay here on the day.
I'm glad that you brought it up and how they end up playing, but we are underway here. Hardpoint Gunrunner coming at you. First game of the second week here, CCL. It seems to always be, though, team that sets the tempo first seems to come out dominant, and that tempo seems to always be the fastest pace wins. Coming out right out of the gate, it's going to be Mississippi taking the first few good trades here. 3 versus the ladder coming through, and getting the first initial hill control, especially through showers, as we were talking about, Visions, is very important as this map is underway.
Absolutely it is here, and not a whole lot of points usually get collected on our first hill. We'll have to see if D can break on in. He does find that entry kill for himself. Still about 35 seconds to be collected, but we know how important the spawn after this is for that next hill. And you can actually see some of these members on the side of Concord Gray already making the rotation, trying to get this flip of spawns. There is one member that could look to cut that off, but that's a big kill that comes through there for Hot Clues. And now this might open up for a bit of a flip here for us. We're going to see PRCC try to get himself back up on top of this platform here to see if he can find some of these members rotating. Takes down one. That's actually 4 down for Concord Gray. I think they're going to hold on towards the spawns. No, actually, it looks like some of those members are actually spawning, so they have actually slowly kind of flipped this here, and they might be able to get themselves in towards the next hill.
Concord Gray had the spawns, like you were saying, but they were unable to get the kills. The trades heavily not in their favor, and Mississippi's going to be able to take this almost with ease. There's a few more players that are spawning out. That was trash that just went down inside P2 as we are inside the munitions depot. You can take a look at all the Mississippi State, their arrows just flooding in and around that hard point. The control is starting to look pretty dominant early on, as you have STXTE is already on 7 straight, has yet to die in this lobby. And this is just sheer power covering all these rotations. Going to catch one coming through the center in between those train cards. That was Lactose. Didn't even see it coming. It's now on 8 straight. And this is going to be that Covenant location that I was talking about, especially in between hard points. Controlling this middle area. Although 8 straight gets cut down and going down to 8 and 1, that's the location that you want to be controlling, as we are down to 10 seconds in the hard point. At least Concord Gray are playing this smart. They already have 3 players on the next hard point that will be over by the coal mines. They just had to get the kills, and that trade, starting off with Pinecone Johnson on a creep, it's a good start.
It is a great start. Haku is also able to take down 1 for himself. 3 down, actually, now for MSU Esports, as they're going to have to wait for some of these teammates to come back up before they can really have a strong push here again. But that's going to be some nice entries from some of the submachine gun players here. Lactose watching the back. He's going to find himself one. They have still held this first 20 points. The nade is actually going to be a team nade there. Not what you'd like to see for MSU. That might actually stop the push, and that's another one that jumps on in. But Pinecone Johnson holding it down, and we're starting to see Concord Gray fight back here on this hill.
On 7 straight, Pinecone Johnson, the M4 player for Concord Gray, coming up huge here. It's at 10 and 3. I'm marching forward a little bit inside the boiler room. The rest of the hard point not in control right now. Concord Gray are just, 27 points behind, but you can see already on the mini-map, the rotation's coming through Visions, pushing towards the tins, and that's going to be towards P4, our next hard point location. Though Mississippi does have the player inside green, they lose. Lactose with the good shots there on a PRCC to 2019. Marching forward towards the train cars, trying to finish off what's rest here. These trades are not good, though. Concord Gray did have the setup. It's not coming through. Another teammate, STXC, just can't catch a break here, man.
Yeah, these teammates gonna have to watch these a little bit better here for this team, but they are at least in towards the hill at the moment. A break is coming up for Concord Gray as they are able to find a couple kills. Ice is gonna take some shots here as he's trying to get himself back in front of the hill, but Trash has this box. We know how important this is to just play this, bounce around, try to get your teammates to watch over you here, but he doesn't know where the members are actually coming from, so this is going to result in him going down. This should actually be picked up by MSU, but they're looking to make the rotation because they know how important this next hill is here for us. We know that this is a full 60 that potentially could be locked down for the team that is here first, and you can see MSU also know that themselves.
Yeah, we're only down to 4 minutes here. left, and the lead isn't substantial enough. And like you were already saying, P5 is the swing point of hard points, especially on Gunrunner alone. STXD already getting the entry frags, though going down. Controlling in and around this box, especially leading towards the coal mines, is absolutely huge. And you see Iced going off, being able to put themselves on the kill feed a little bit more. Although, Concord Gray, these spawns, pushing through past the warehouse, is going to be really good. Pineko Johnson has a really good kill coming in and through there. Just now in a 1v many and the world is against him. Pineko Johnson goes down. It just, again, the setup is always there for Concord Gray. They had the spawns, they flood in, but the kill's not going in their direction.
That's right. I'm not able to grab the majority of these kills, and now that's MSU getting themselves a little bit of a lead, breaking that hill so very fast. Creep is actually creeping up on a member right here. Have to see if he can take down Crash, as he is going to now get spotted out, throws a stun, and he's just waiting to play the back here, trying to get that flip before we get the resets on our hard points. And resets just about to come through. MSU up massively at the moment, collecting so much time off the last two hills, really starting to take an advance here for game number one. Lactose is in the hill trying to get towards that 100 gap. Lactose, or excuse me, that was actually PRCC able to pick up that kill, holding this rock here. And now it's just the contest back and forth, desperately holding on. MSU doing a great job of finding these constant kills back and forth.
Concord Gray are just isolating themselves off of spawns. I could see how the pincer play would want to pay off. You had one player checking over the peak behind the munitions depot, past tins, potentially looking for a two-piece, if not catching a few of Mississippi's players in their back. Didn't pay off. Got swarmed by 3 other players from Mississippi. I mean, these isolated fights are not going in their favor, and all of these points, ever since we've come off of P3, it seems, Visions, it just hasn't going in the direction of Concord Gray.
Agreed.
They're trying to go for these plays, but it just seems that you want to be playing a little bit more straight up. So stop trying to go for these pincer plays. Go for these entry frags along with your MP5 players, and allow Pineko Johnson to find these angles with their AR, because it was ringing true in the early game. We're down to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. MSU Esports are up at 169 points, where Concord Gray are being left in the dust at 97. They are getting the rotations off their spawns, setting up for P2 in the munitions depot. But STXTE has a very good location, a good set nade coming in from Pineko Johnson, returns for a 2-piece off of their AR. Make that 3 straight for Pineko Johnson.
Yeah, you need someone to step up. It could be this man here. He went on quite a spree earlier on. Now he's on 4, 23 and 12 at the moment, as he's also got a good amount of time in the hill, but he does finally end up dropping towards Ice in the mid lane there. Cody Vibes making the fast rotation here with his teammate. Looks like they're going to be trying to get on in, set up for this next hill, and they are on track to be able to actually get the setup. This was the hill that they actually got a good amount of time on here, but early fights here in towards our boiler room, as PRCC is trying to break through the map, get some of this map control. He's going to face one. That's a big 1v1 by Cody, as he's going to shut that member down here, and the setup is going to be in, but he's in the back. He could look to pull this flank off, but he just needs to wait for his teammates.
This could be really well timed. You see the flood coming in immediately. The push
God.
from behind Z off for 3 in the kill feed. Flooding on in. All the players from Concord Gray were looking towards the boiler room where the flood was coming in. And that was just well execution as far as timing is concerned by Z on MSU Esports. It did pay off. They are able to get the control of the hard point. But you see these spawns coming in from the backwards of the train cards, and you got Pineko Johnson getting a team kill in there as well, is only helping MSU Esports out as their lead continues to grow to almost 100 here, Visions, and you could almost think that this is about to be done and dusted. Now Concord Gray just having to throw bodies on the point, even in kills coming their way regardless. Cody Vibes doing a good job at that and the least. But the rotations are still there. MSU Esports, go ahead and shrug off was about to be the rest of this scrap time on top of P3. Start rotating into tins. That lone player in there, although getting the rest of the scrap time, they were just kind of giving their life up for that time just to see if they can get any exit frags. Concord Gray, again, trying to go for the rotation onto the next hardpoint. They do get some trades in their way. But again, MSU Esports still coming on top of the overall gunfight.
That's right. They're still coming on top, and they could look to end things right here and now. The Concord Gray gonna have to pull out some kind of a crazy desperation play because the hill is ticking down. They got to get on in. 245 is currently being held at. They have broken for the time being as 3 members do go down for MSU. Ice trying to get in towards the mix, able to find one. Can he find a second? Shots go down, finds them almost with the pistol, but a drop shot from Lactose is going to take that member out. But if you're MSU, you can just look to rotate. He's actually still going to put some pressure down here. This actually might result in the complete game number 1 here for us. No one here to respond, sprinting into the hill, but not enough. And a very nice, clean game from Mississippi State for match number 1.
A definitive scoreline will go ahead and just showcase of how this flank really paid off. I mean, this right here from Z, just go ahead and put the cherry on top of the milkshake of their hardpoint visions, because that was just very impressive timing as far as teamwork is concerned. And that's what you want to see, especially coming off of the Minnesota weekend that we just had and going into week 2. And especially looking at the division that Mississippi and Concord Gray find themselves in. I mean, they're in here with Full Sail, Georgia Southern, Alabama's in here too. You got to be showcasing your strengths, and we want to see consistency across the board as well.
Yeah, we want to see consistency. And like you said multiple times, you said the rotations were there for Concord Gray. It just was not able to hold them. They weren't able to find the kills, the trades, none of it. Every single time MSU were able to get towards that first offensive push, it almost felt like they were breaking it instantly and flipping spawns a lot of the times. They had the right idea for as far as they were always rotating first. They were, knowing that they had to get through either the left or right side of the maps to be able to get towards those favorite spawns. They just, again, were not able to lock things down here. The hard point gun runner, not how you want to get that going here, but we are getting ready to jump in towards our second map, of course, which should be Arklov Peak on Search and Destroy, and this will be a chance to slow things down, try to regain and tie up the series here for us.
And I'm always gonna reference this too, that especially coming across the bigger maps off the faster pace tempo setting that Mississippi State just showcased on Gunrunner Hardpoint, going into Arklov Peak, Search and Destroy. You said it ever so wonderfully. The slower pace, the longer sightlines, well, maybe that could favor players such as Pinecone Johnson. We've already seen them be quite adept with the M4 in their hands, popping off of their team when 25 and 19 led their team in KD ratio. When you're having players on Mississippi State go 26 and 13 for STXTE, and then you also have Z pulling off flanks in the back line, going 22 and 16. That's an MP5 problem, and that's something that you're going to have to exterminate, perhaps with longer sightlines and well-trained execution as far as AX50 or HDR play, depending on your flavor of sniper rifle these days, or just well-timed AR and sightlines being held.
That's right. I think that's really, a huge majority of it playing through that broken area, getting towards that open bomb site. Certainly such a very important part of being able to grab control of those offensive rounds here for us. But we have seen a lot of teams kind of favor the opposite sides of things and kind of play towards that B bomb site that is enclosed within the house. Maybe a little bit harder to break, but once you do get control of it, then it becomes very difficult for the defensive team to get themselves in. So I definitely 100% agree with you. The sniper play, I think, is going to be the big thing. We saw some teams that actually maybe had not kind of designated a sniper player so far here in towards the season, but it's obviously very crucial on a map like Arklov Peak. So we are going to have to wait and see if there will be any of those players and who will be kind of taking that in towards their hands to see if they can dictate those long sights like you were mentioning.
Yeah, and what's even coming off of the Minnesota weekend too, I'm interested to see the different transformations as far as strategy. Who's going to go for those different plays over top of the B bomb site? I'm going to be able to get a tricky plant and being able to get, as far as a conditioning is concerned, against their enemy. We saw a lot of good cheeky play across the board all weekend long. I want to see it transformed into the CCL visions. I really do. Pinecone Johnson coming out with the AX50 is immediately met off the scope of ice, had that well trained and read.
Yeah, absolutely did. Well, the question was if there was going to be any sniper play. I guess it was answered very early, as Ice still has this in his hands. And now this kind of puts a little bit of a hold on the push as another kill is going to drop down here. MSU now favoring a 2-man advantage. There's still 3 members from Concord Gray that are trying to break on in towards the site, but at some point in time, you got to kind of cut your losses, look to play elsewhere on the map, because it is not going to be easy trying to break in towards this site. Lacto seems to think he can do it with a sub. He's going to land some shots, but now he's going to give away his position, throws a nade out. Don't think that's going to connect on anyone. And he's just trying to hold his positioning, but before they can push out, they're going to need some kills. But Z is just going to take down Lactose right there in that favorable trade.
Found ourselves with a little trash. I was about to say in Hockey Lees. Oh, we'll just come down to Hockey Lees. The player getting Shot in the behind will be bet by another player. They were trying to hightail their way up and out of that fight. MSU Esports coming out. Pretty good round. It all opened up with that well-trained AX50 shot. Ice had that angle more than held, and that just allowed for so much more flooding coming through from the rest of Mississippi State, especially off of that sideline not being able to be held through trenches by Pinecone Johnson, the AX50 player for Concord Gray. Ice will be sticking along with that sniper, headed in here in round 2 for the offense. And it's going to be another hit towards A. And you see the setup coming through from Concord Gray. Nothing out of the usual. Going to have one player on B, one looking out towards long side, and the 3 dedicated towards looking through broken and trenches.
Ice got first blood in that last round here for us. Of course, we can see through the x-ray that member that's slowly crawling here prone. Ice might be able to get a shot on him very, very shortly if he does happen to wide peak. But he is just holding very confidently right now. And you can see Concord Gray completely spread out across the map here. So if there is any kind of a hard push or if a pick does go down here by A, you can assume that they'll certainly look to hit it very fast. And that is the first smoke thrown out from Z. He's looking to run. Ice watching right over his teammate's shoulder here. And the bomb is actually going to be going down. We'll have to see if there's going to be any kind of a nade. But this time around, Trash opens up first blood here for his team. So Concord Gray have the man advantage. But bomb is down. 40 seconds to work with.
It's a very interesting turn of events there. I mean, the bomb did get pushed and put down 30 seconds left on the clock, speaking of. But had a player from Concord Gray rotate back over to bomb site B. Although the first trade did come through in favor of Concord Gray, these later trades after bomb going down are not going towards their way, though Trash on the backside is able to find one. Immediately gets traded out by Z. This is the lone survivor for MSU Esports versus Hercules. It's a 1v1. Those shots are going to ring true as well. MSU Esports going back-to-back with their rounds. I loved the slow pace, just waiting for any bit of information off the beginning of round number 2 on their offense, and then just with a well-timed smoke, and then along with that, just pushing on forward and encroaching and taking that space away, and kind of breaking the ankles of Concord Gray. They almost thought that MSU Esports were popping that smoke as a bait and switch, that they were about to break towards bomb site B, and kind of caught them off guard with it.
Yeah, also, Lactose missed a free kill of someone that was just proning on the ground there in the trench, and that could have really been the difference maker if he had not get taken down and shot in the back by that member there. Would have given them a little bit more control here, but right now, so far, Concord Gray hitting a bit of a wall in the search and destroy. MSU having all of the answers here, winning all of the clutch moments. Pinecone Johnson has an opportunity to find a pick, but it's just going to go wide over that member's head and gives him a bit of a haircut. Look to maybe find this opportunity again if this member jumps up. I think he got hit with a nade, so he's just going to prone and lay down. The push certainly still going over towards this bomb site, though. They're not looking to change things up. They just need to find that entry pick. That's Z on the hill. Shots going down, and Trash is going to find first blood here yet again in this round.
That's such a huge kill, because Z is that player that has been in the thorn in the side since the beginning of this. Being at 5-1, headed in here into round 3, where you have 3 players on Concord Gray that have yet to find themselves a kill, though Trash, with the sight that looks like he just came straight out of campaign mode, it's going to be able to make it work, and they'll be able to find one. Ice holding the longer sideline along with Trench with their AX50, able to show up in the kill feed yet again. This is a 2v3 with Ice, PRCC, and Creep versus Pinecone Johnson and Hercules. So AX50 still on the board for both these teams here, Visions. And well, although with the bomb on the ground, something's got to give. We only got 40 seconds left.
That's right. Something is going to have to happen here very shortly. Pinecone still has the sniper in hand, so still able to find something to work with here, but he has now lost his teammate. He's getting pushed. He's got the pistol in hand. The Creep will not lose that gunfight, and 3 straight rounds here for MSU. They are not slowing down. They are just seeing a little bit of too much patience maybe, and they're just pouncing when they find the opportunity to do so.
They normally think that like a Panther-esque animal. I guess you could almost think that they're playing Predator-esque. All these errors are just being fed to them almost. I mean, Concord Gray just overextending, not being able to win the isolated 1v1s, even when MSU is able to get a free turnaround kill. Even when numbers are on the advantage, Concord Gray, they're unable to turn it into their true advantage. I mean, again, we find ourselves here in round number 4, 3 players not having a single kill. Trash trying to do everything they possibly can, putting the team behind them. Pinecone Johnson does go down. AX50 traded amongst players, though. Immediately you see MSU coming out on top of these trades. Though Trash is able to find another one. They're at 6-3 now. MSU Esports, they're not afraid. They're still trying to deny all the space. They are pushing forward towards the bomb site. There is the player STXTE, who does get the plant down. Doesn't even have a smoke to be covered. Them Hocules has this angle covered. Do you throw the nade? Do you train it back? The push is coming through. Could be waiting for this timing.
They gotta go, and they're gonna have to go now, but that's trades here, back and forth yet again. Trash waiting for that member to re-peek, able to pick him up here. That is gonna be a snipe now there from Ice, as he shuts down the member who's been running that M13, I do believe, changing the meta up a bit. Hocules now left all alone, and it is not looking like he's gonna even get close to the bomb in time. So this looks like another round here for MSU, and I gotta say, they are just playing the Search and Destroy right now proper, just marvelously. There's nothing that they're able to do. It just feels like they're getting choked and suffocated out of every play they're trying to make, and MSU are just kind of walking in and walking all over them, essentially.
Yeah, this is the rear naked choke of SND, if I've ever seen it. You're not wrong. Like, give the guys some oxygen to breathe, MSU Esports, please. For the love of God. I mean, I see at 7-2. Again, you have Trash doing their damnest over here. It's 7-4. Pinecone Johnson, it seems to have the angles. And Concord Gray, again, they have almost everything right in front of them. It's a beautiful bowl of spaghetti, and it just slips right through, and it's all over the floor. You just hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. And Cody Vibes gets hit with a nade. He's going to continue to push, though. A little bit of confidence, excuse me, here from him. We'll see if he can maybe make this play. Pinecone Johnson now getting very aggressive as he looks to open things up potentially. He's made it all the way through. He's got some great positioning. A lot of the MSU members are fairly pushed back, but shots going down might give away his positioning, but very aggressive positioning right now for the side of Concord Gray. They've already planted the bomb. MSU now are on the back foot, but Ice has already found himself a pick and opens up that first blood on Lactose.
Seems to always find a way, Ice does, with these angles. It may not be every single round, but it seems to be one way or another. Trade comes through. Pinecone Johnson with the M4. Again, leading in KD. Went 25-19 on the hard point and losing fashion, though. Ice again. Oh, through these windows. It's just so difficult. How do you even peek? You see the push coming through, even through the smoke. MSU Esports say, oh, we like the aggression. Allow us to meet you with more aggression. STXTE pulling out the pistol. All players wiped from Concord Gray. Putting themselves on map point here is Mississippi State Visions, though I do really like the aggression again. This is how Mississippi State have found themselves in success, coming off a hard point and even on offense through defense. It's by way of their aggression. The team that sets the tempo, especially at the fastest pace, you see it all the way up to through the CDL, such as I think the Hutzman versus Dallas. I mean, we were told coming in through the scrims that Dallas play extremely fast, but then you saw Chicago. This is exactly what I'm expecting out of Concord Gray to meet that speed, but MSU Esports are just that much faster.
That's right. And I almost thought that last round was going to go over to Concord Gray just due to the early positioning and setup that they had, but broken so easily from MSU. Still two members here on Concord Gray, still struggling to even find themselves a kill. And if there's ever a time to get something going, it is now. The elimination rounds, and while that's a good start, Cody Vibes does find his first kill here on towards Creep and is going to give them a little bit of leeway. Got some shots going down there. Creep bouncing up and down. Looks a little funny in the lens, but able to just barely slip away with his life. Waiting patiently is MSU now. You can see the submachine gun player on your screen maybe looking to make the aggressive play. Smoke has went down. He might look to make a play through the trench. Have to see, but Trash has now found another kill on Ice, and now finally some of the members going down for MSU.
Yeah, this is huge. Catching the players off on the rotation. One rotating all the way through the outside. Concord Gray able to come through with a round, putting themselves on the board. This will not be a shutout. By any means, Concord Gray will not be denied at least a few rounds coming through. The reverse sweep is a very tall order to ask, so we're not even going to bring it up. No caster curse coming from me, no siree. However, though, Mississippi State, again, through the aggression, this is how you wanted to do it. This is how you set it up yourself, Visions, going into Arcloft Peak. S&D exclusively as a game variant. You have the opportunity to yourself to be able to slow things up and play it by sightlines. And you see Pinecone Johnson with their M4, Cody Vibes, I believe, picking up the M4 as well. And you have Trash, again, with this campaign-esque weapon, being able to turn things around for their team at 8-5. This is exactly what you need. And trading out, instead of going for the sniper play, it's all over. I mean, my mental got boomed for them off of that. That's just wild. Ice with a well-timed and set nade. 3 players just off into the dark zone. They're just out of here. MSU Esports are going to win out S&D emphatically off of a triple kill from a nade, and Ice If the AX50 play wasn't enough for you folks, that was about a good set nade.
That's right. If you didn't say it, I will. That was a Kobe right there, ladies and gentlemen. Able to get that beautiful nade just positioned onto 3 people right there. Beautifully done for him. And just looking at that, I mean, that was obviously the last nail in the coffin with that 3-piece coming from the lethal grenade, but it just seemed like there was just a wall after wall that they were hitting here, whether they were on offense or defense, and they never opt into changing anything up there for us proper. You know, if you attack a certain bomb site and you aren't successful, usually we see the team then try at least the other bomb site, even if it's not the favorable one. It's just about maybe just trying to change things up, throw the enemy team off, because it was very clear MSU every single time realized that Concord Gray were looking to try and get that push on towards that bomb site, and every single time they were there in time to shut them down.
I just don't know why you continue to try to challenge ICE, especially on offense. I mean, it was, again, continuously finding value with their AX50 and a triple kill set nade alone at one point where you're not being able to at least trade or set a smoke play up on offense with MP5s and being able to meet that aggression continuously. But that bomb site, to me, that's out of the question. If you're trying to slow things up, you have to then dedicate to a slower pace, more macro-esque style over to the other bomb site, especially playing through the center and the northern side if you're thinking the mini-map for Arklov Peak. It's especially where you want to be going if that's the situation that you find yourself in, especially for Concord Gray. I mean, even on their defense, you go back, they almost had the setup complete. They almost had the player at the right spot, trying to look through trenches. But they're not taking that AX50 battle, so they can't dedicate an AX50 to both look at the far right trench and all the way through broken, expecting that player to pop up through the blue segment of that broken building. That you have to then push forward to be able to cut off those sightlines with M4s instead. And we never saw those adaptations, like you were saying, coming out from Concord Gray. Again, MSU Esports being able to recognize these errors and being able to gobble them up and come out with a 6-1 victory, coming off of a 250-145 victory off of a hardpoint 2. We find ourselves headed to Hackney Yard domination, where Concord Gray now need to fight themselves to find a reverse sweep in the series.
Yeah, they're certainly going to have to dig deep and fight if they're going to somehow keep the series going, because so far we got to see that very first map, as you can see on your screen right there, 250 to 145 in that hard point on Gunrunner. We thought things would maybe change up going in towards something that was a little bit more slow paced for us, longer range, but still still Mississippi State able to just get everything done. And going in towards our third map here, you mentioned it, Hackney Yard domination. This is a little bit scary for me right now because we haven't seen the submachine gun players come online right now for the squad of Concord Gray, which means that it's very likely that we could get a similar game number 1, where the submachine gun players are just dictating all of the tempo, dictating all of the pressure on the map, and it just doesn't give you any leeway to then go for the objectives, because we know domination, before you can get on those flags, sometimes you have to slay through, I know, sometimes just 2 full team wipes before you can really get on towards that flag in some cases here. So we do have a little bit of a change for as far as at least neutralizing the flags. It might play a little bit of a factor for as far as playing a ring around the rosy on the map. I think something we saw over the weekend there at CDL Minnesota, but we'll have to see really what's going to come through here for us, and we desperately need to see something from this Concord Gray squad.
Definitely need to see something, and that something might be kills. Again, I mean, Lactose getting a goose egg on S&D is not exactly what you want. I mean, you talked about the MP5 players not showing up. Even back on Hardpoint wasn't even the case. And well, Hackney Yard, very comparable as far as Modern Warfare maps are concerned to Gunrunner, especially where the Domination B flag is placed in that warehouse. AB typically where teams like to be holding, depending on the half and where the home flags are placed. I would expect nothing but the less for Mississippi State to try to bully themselves towards the A side and try to control that side of the map too. Regardless of the matter, though, Mississippi State with their MP5s can control all the way from the B-Dom through the bottom and top L. And we've seen players from very dominating teams. One player named Paralysis comes to mind, where we saw in the Modern Warfare kickoff show, I believe it was Grand Finals, where we saw Paralysis just absolutely get a feeding frenzy off of teams that are players, rather, that were rotating behind phone booth in front of yellow. And that's just a positioning where you have very dominant MP5 players such as STXTE, who came off of a 26-13 hardpoint play. You just can't let them get that dominant position.
That's right, you really can. And I love that you just dove right into that because, getting power positions on a map like Hackney Yard is really, what kind of dictates whether or not you're in the lead or if the enemy team's in the lead for as far as, like you said, getting top L, sitting top green, knowing where the enemy's spawning and being able to cut them down as they're trying to run in towards the objective and, flood in towards B, flood in towards some of those areas that the submachine gun players can kind of get in and get aggressive to find those kills and just be a nuisance overall, that thorn in the side, if you will. And going in towards this one, we'll have to see if that can be matched. I think Pinecone Johnson really showed up in that game number 1 where we did get to see some of that M4A1 gameplay. But either way, map number 3 is underway. 2-0 up right now is MSU Esports. Concord Gray haven't really given us a lot on stream. We'll have to see if that changes now.
Oh man, and here we are immediately with the right play. Cody Vibes be marching on forward, trying to get a forward positioning. Wait for any of these players for MSU. Start rotating through, though. States. I've been pronouncing the entire lettering of their word or their name the entirety of this time. Thank you, CCL Wong. State's going to be able to at least get the trade, but again, the biggest jostle for position will be inside that warehouse. The trade so far going in the favor of Concord Gray, and the BDOM flag is in their favor so far. They did get their home flag on round 1 here, Visions, from the A flag site. But you see immediately rotations coming all the way through. MSU Esports, this is going to be Ice, clearing things up with their M4. It's going to look to get the trades as far as spawns are concerned. And Concord Gray are obliged. They're going to be able to get to C.
That's right. Just all around the map at the moment here. Ice is going to now cap that flag there for his team. Creep is going to find a kill. Actually manages to find 3 in a row there as he is going to be on that B flag. Going to wait for his team to actually grab that as he is going to be trying to get the cutoff. Trying to find this is Lactose here, but he doesn't know where the members are. He ends up dropping there from the back. Ice holding on towards his home flag here. Just a lot of scattering here around the map here for us. Creep holding top L, might find a second. Nice shots from him, and MSU already lighting up the kills, but they are still having to close that lead that was already built up here for Concord Gray.
Creep ended up getting that kill, especially against Hockey Leads, who was on top of the smokestack. It just would have been absolutely crazy. That's that positioning that we're talking about. Top L, such a pivotal location for an MP5 user to be hanging out at. Cody Vibes trying to slide on forward into the BDOM site, trying to get the flip to come back through as MSU Esports will be getting the lead here momentarily. It's just a matter of a few 5 seconds coming through. Unless the contest comes through from Concord Gray, it's unlikely as Cody Vibes, again, just dedicating their sole life and purpose just to rushing through warehouse every single time solely, it seems. This trade's able to come through. Pinecone Johnson now, the M4, we talked about it. Came off of a very impressive 25-19 for their team. Back on hardpoint, looking to do the same thing here on domination. And you almost have to think your Visions, especially with whichever side that they're spawning on. For C, you have smokestacks. For A, you have the police cars to look down the middle side of the map, where an AR player could actually control a lot of space.
Yeah, absolutely, they can. Ocules gets himself in towards this flag. Looks like they're going to now secure it. I believe Concord Gray now holding on towards 2, and C is neutralized. So MSU not really picking up any points at the moment. They have found lots of kills here. Ocules holding this window. This can definitely be one of those pivotal positions that you can find a lot of kills on. Creep trying to secure this A flag, waiting for someone to potentially challenge him as he is watching out front here. He's going to find himself a bit of a gunfight. Cody able to grab that, and he's going to hold on towards this corner here, waiting for the next one to potentially challenge. And right now, Concord Gray at least able to keep things fairly tight and neck after coming off of 2 rough back-to-back games here. Ace being neutralized for them. They look to get the 2 gap right back in their favor. They trying to see if he can find another one here. He's going to have a big gunfight trying to hold on towards B, but he's stuck. He gets taken down, and now we'll see if MSU can get themselves in towards this B flag.
It's just a crazy back and forth as far as grid, trading home flags back and forth between A and C from Concord Gray and MSU Esports. I mean, first, Concord Gray dedicate themselves to getting A site. While they're holding B, they lose the fight to control the home flag at C, so they trade for the spawn flip. But then the grit to dedicate 2 more players to continuously hold A, as the rest of the team from MSU Esports were flooding into C, into B, which is well turned, and Concord Gray find themselves still in the lead. It's very close. MSU Esports now control the A-B lovable sites as we know here on Hackney Yard. I'm gonna have to see if they're gonna be able to do anything with this advantage.
16-7 right now is Creep as he's on a 3 spree. Z also on a 3-speed running that submachine gun here. Ice holding this top area on the generator, able to take down one. Second one challenges, finds two. Z also able to find one. The sub, they're lining up for him. Doesn't get any easier for this. Is the next one going to come out too? Because Ice just found 3 easy kills, and they have just completely stopped the push here for Concord Gray, and full control around this B area is going to be Mississippi State.
69-69 as the turning point finally goes over. MSU Esports now lead by 1. Back off of Ice on 3 straight. Will finally get cut down there. Lactose able to help out MSU Esports by taking out Hocules. It rolls on through. MSU Esports, though, this is the dominance that we're end up talking about. When you have this firm control over top L and above the beat-on flag, you got State hanging out up here. You know their shots are ringing on true. They're on 3 straight. Gonna throw out the Semtex. Gonna try to catch one of these players coming up the stairs. They're gonna think twice about it. However, they're gonna get cut down. And State with those shots on the Hocules, that's the AR player down on top of Smokestack. That's a lot of space that isn't gonna be covered here in State. It's gonna try to make something of this too. They're on 4 straight, by the way. They're gonna start rushing here into C. Although there is no players directly controlling A, another player was able to push in towards Office and get a 2-piece themselves. And this is absolutely huge for State. I mean, this kill, if it ended up coming through, Pineco Johnson turning things back on its head for State, who was really about to make a dream of a play happen.
13 seconds left here for our first side of domination. And it looks like Mississippi State is going to be able to break that 100 points here for us, 101-82. We'll have to see if those last couple ticks might end up coming through before the side does switch over. It does. So 20 points at the moment for Mississippi State, able to kind of find a little bit of a grip on towards that first side. In the middle of it, around that 3-minute mark, is when things started to turn around. But we did see Concord Gray able to get, a little bit of something going, at least for themselves. They were able to get, pulling ahead by, I believe it was 10 points there for us. But I'm noticing one player who really is going to have to step it up here for Concord Gray at the moment here, proper. 2-17, that's not what you like to see from, such an important role here. Your subs really almost dictate a lot of how Hackney Yard can be played out. And at the moment, it is just not looking great for them. And MSU do get themselves in towards this B flag here again, and they already look like they're going to hold that 2 cap.
I'm creeping PRCC. You talked about the MP5 control your subs. Turn almost everything, especially here on Hackney Yard. You're not going to be able to control the entirety of B-Dom without an MP5. I cannot say it enough. You see Creep over here in top L is going to probably get firm control. There is another player from Concord Gray that is in bottom L, but Lactose has not had an easy day. I mean, 12-22 on the hard point, 0-6 on S&D. Now finds themselves at 2-19 after the half. And Concord Gray, they were doing great, like you were mentioning, turning their spawns and being able to turn it as far as map pressure and breaking MSU Esports into isolated kills where Concord Gray were able to take them in a 2v1, and all those trades were able to come through. At least one more player was able to survive and able to take control of that space then being controlled. However, Creep is on 6 straight. They have come out of the gate and have taken firm control over top L, peeking into bottom side of Office. But you can see the spawns coming through for Concord Gray over top of this Office side, now on 7, looking to find another.
Oh my
There's
God.
the 8th, and 27-10. Creep having themselves a bit of a game here.
Yeah, a bit of a game. That's definitely one word you could use. He is locking down this top L area. Another one is going to find his way right into his line of sights, as he might be able to break double digits here on his next kill. And that could be very, very shortly. The rest of the team is just trying to make sure that they're holding on towards the 2 gap. A was neutralized. It's a bit of an OE happened, but there it is. Number 10, 29, and 10 at the moment. 4 down here for Concord Gray. And, well, if they keep this up, it looks like we very likely might just have a hot 3-0 here for our match number 1.
Yeah, this is quite dominant. I mean, this is more dominant than their hard point. This is looking scary, though. Fighting back, Concord Gray find themselves at a life advantage. This is all off of a attempt for an AC hold, or flip rather, I should say, and now being able to again turn the spawns into map pressure just from man advantage alone. They find themselves with a brief CB hold at the moment, but the pincer in a warehouse being a little bit too overwhelming for the one player of Concord Gray that was left alone in there, and the flip will come through here momentarily after the flag is set back to neutral. And well, MSU Esports now with a convincing 42-point lead. Concord Gray are really trying to make something happen here. They do have 2 players in and around L. State has now taken up refuge with this top window side. There is a player rotating into yellow, not being able to cut down ever so slightly. Hocules being able to find a Semtac kill. They'll get traded out, however, by Ice, who has been having themselves a fantastic game as well, picking up the AR this time round.
Oh, man. Look at that skill here. I'm looking at for now. I think he's still sitting on the moment here. Is looking a little rough at the moment. I don't think he's gotten a kill yet, and that's something to definitely be worth here. And right now, just the same thing. MSU right the lead. Able to just put on this conjure and just keep Concord constantly on their toes, able to find any responses. And 118 to 171 as we get in towards what is about the fourth quarter in towards our last game, potentially our last game, but on track to definitely be so. State here on your screen again, trying to see if he can find some of these members trying to rotate through. They're going to throw a smoke out. That's going to be the gunfight. State's locking it down, and Concord Gray just struggling to even move up out of their spawn at the moment.
I mean, they're just getting cut down left, right, and center. It doesn't matter what lane that they choose. They're just losing these gunfights. And again, you have a handful of members of Concord Gray trying to do well, but it's just not in the areas that they are trying to control. The setups are all there, the positional advantage seemingly there, but the advantage not being able to be executed on. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the day, you and me, Visions. We were referencing about just the control from the execution alone. It's not there from Concord Gray, and MSU Esports are, again, able to gobble up this mistake and turn it right back around. I mean, you have Creep, an SMG player at 35-15 versus Lactose is at 4-32 Visions. Man. That's a lot of space not being able to be controlled, and a lot of flanks not being able to be found from the SMG player of Concord Gray versus MSU Esports, where their SMG players are having a field day. This is quite troublesome to be looking at.
Agreed. It certainly is. Creep's going to find another one here. Not that going for this flag is really going to make the difference, as things are going to be closed out here for us. MSU putting on a dominating performance, but you really hit the nail on the head. You know, the submachine gun player is getting work done here for Mississippi State, who's sitting 7th right now in their Southeast brackets. And this is also going to propel them 3-1. After this domination does close out here for us, which there is no way back in towards it. And just looking at the scoreboard all around the board, you know, we might harp on Lactose. I'm sure a lot of people are going to give him a rough time for this game. And, you know, it definitely was not in his favor. But, you know, there wasn't really anybody that kind of found any kind of footing in towards our domination in towards this game. We saw a couple standout players throughout the first 2 maps there. Map number 1 being Pinecone Johnson. Map number 2, I believe, was I believe it was Trash, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been Hocules, but either way, just really struggling to get the teamwork, to be able to find and play the objective efficiently here. And, you know, beautiful job from MSU for as far as what they were capable of doing here in our very first match of the day. We'll see how they'll be able to kind of come back and respond at the moment. But I mean, going in towards this, you got to look at kind of fixing some of those issues. Going back to the drawing board is definitely one way to look at this series, to try and get your footing back in towards it. But either way, beautiful performance from Mississippi State, and overall Concord Gray just have a lot more work to do before they're going to be able to stay up here with these top teams here in the Southeast Division.
Look, you're not wrong. I mean, they definitely have a lot of bright spots here, Visions. They have a lot of good pieces, but it's the picture of the puzzle at the end of the day that we're trying to form, put it in a beautiful frame. Maybe you put a magnet on the fridge at your mom's place. It's completely up to you what you end up doing with the picture, regardless of the matter. Again, I mean, Trash in 9-6 was able to have themselves a good game too. Pinecone Johnson, their AR play has been stellar, but again, it just comes down to and again, I'm not to harp on Lactose, did have a very rough day indeed. It's just when you're trying to go for those flanks, I mean, look who you're trying to meet. I mean, you're trying to meet State, you're trying to meet Z, Iced, Creep is over there too. Not to mention all those angles are just being well held because of the flanks being controlled by those MP5 players. PRCC with the M4 was always there looking at things, was having a very static day themselves, although never having a pop-off moment such as Creep or Z themselves, was always there and doing their job wonderfully. It's really hard as an MP5 player to be able to find a lot of footing in that regard.
I do agree with you. And, like you just said, you really, I think broke it down there for us for as far as how that all played out and just not able to get things done. There's a lot of interactions that were not being won there. And like you just said, if those interactions aren't being won, if they're not able to find those kills when they are going for those aggressive flanks, using the dead silence, then it is just causing, such a huge hurt on your team for as far as pushing up, getting map control, and locking down the objective and holding it. And you can see the full on map score there for all 3 games picked up for MSU. 250 to 145 in the map number 1, 6-1 in Arklov Peak, and of course the match that we just got finished showing there, 216 to 150. Beautifully done here for this squad, as now they are again 3-1 in the standings. So we'll have to see and keep track as they continue some of this dominance that they put on display here for Stream for us throughout their future matches. But I believe we are getting ready to set up our second match of the day. I think Shift is going to be jumping in towards our virtual booth here with Proper. So we're going to get ready to throw it to a short little break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with map number 2.